Welcome back, everyone. Next, we have an update from Cyngn Inc. They trade on the NASDAQ under the symbol CYN and develops and deploys scalable, differentiated autonomous vehicle technology for industrial organizations. Cyngn's self-driving solutions allow existing workforces to increase productivity and efficiency. The company addresses significant challenges facing industrial organizations today, such as labor shortages, costly safety incidents, and increased consumer demand for e-commerce. Please welcome the VP of Business Development, Ben Landon. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you, Anna. And you know what? You nailed that intro that I wanted to hit for us to start us off. So let's jump in. I wanted to focus a little bit more on the updates and exciting things that have happened since the last time I addressed this audience. So let's jump straight into that.
Great. Yeah. So yesterday you announced that Cyngn has been awarded a contract to implement self-driving technology at a large cap industrial machinery company. So tell us about it.
Yeah, this is exciting because it is showing proof for what we outlined at our IPO was part of our long-term vision, was that we would take our enterprise autonomy suite solution, within that the DriveMod tech stack that we use to be a vehicle agnostic autonomous solutions provider, and that we would grow that across different vehicles that operate with DriveMod over time. So this is that proof that shows that we've been attracting customers and that we're addressing different operational design domains in the autonomous vehicle jargon, that shows that that core DriveMod tech stack really is applicable to lots of other use cases by nature of the commonality. Like, in the end of the day, moving heavy things in closed sites at low speeds, we've built our tech stack in a way where the software is amenable to lots of different vehicles doing that, as long as they're doing those kind of solving those common problems. And so it's a very exciting validation of our fit in the heavy industry and mining market that we see ourselves naturally growing into in the coming years.
Fantastic. Congrats on that. Also, earlier in the year, you announced a collaboration with JTech Industries. So what does that involve, and what are the positives for Cyngn?
This one is great because it's one of those, when you first look at it, it doesn't jump out at you as the types of big announcements that autonomous vehicle companies need to be making. JTech is a cart supplier. They build and manufacture industrial carts. They've been doing it for decades. But the difference in where Cyngn is now and where I think a lot of, especially the road-based autonomous vehicle solutions are, is that we're really thinking about commercialization, about serving customers. 5-6 years ago, we were doing all the stuff that makes a lot of exciting news about developing new leading edge AI and making sure the solution even works. We've spent the last several years, we spent our venture capital money making our progress in those developments. And we've now had enough experience with customers and deploying in beta deployments and in pilot projects to understand that giving a customer an end product that is automated really takes a village. And that village includes contributors like a cart manufacturer that allows you to tow the thousands of pounds behind your fancy autonomous vehicle so that you can actually move the goods that need to be moved within the customer manufacturing line. So with JTech, they are our partner in serving our US continental deployment that we had advertised earlier in the year. That's currently getting spooled up, where we will be towing big heavy pallets for a chemicals manufacturing company. And it's those little things that don't necessarily, they're not the big sexy headlines, but they're critical in getting the job done, that we're excited about.
Okay. You also announced that you'll be incorporating LiDAR sensors from Ouster into your technology. So why is Ouster the right company for you to partner with?
So going back to that first update of us operating across a few different applications or operational design domains, Ouster has an attractive suite of LiDAR products. They enable us to do the fancy stuff, especially the AI, that our autonomous vehicle system does heavily rely on. So they have a few different versions of LiDARs that have different fields of view, different densities of point clouds. So the returns that we get, that we then run through our machine learning, our AI algorithms to detect objects, to localize against the scene that we're in, all of the bread and butter that allows our vehicles to drive autonomously. Well, Ouster has a very competitive and technically appealing collection of lidars that serve the needs that we have across those various domains. And we're also thinking about the basics as well, and back to serving customers, which is the supply chain, right? It's a big macro discussion topic at the moment. And the nice thing about Ouster is that their headquarters is in San Francisco, where they do a lot of assembly, and our headquarters is in Menlo Park. So to their credit, even in a bind, we've literally told them, hey, we need you to drive a few units down 101. We need them to serve a customer project. And it's those kinds of connections that I think take you from just selecting a sensor or a vendor for its technical offering or its cost, and into really having more of a kind of strategic partnership.
Makes sense. So you also just hired your first head of sales. So why is now the right time to bring on someone like Chris Wright?
This is a big step forward for us. And it emphasizes again the point that we've spent years and many millions of dollars in R&D in the past. And we have our eyes set on commercialization now. So especially with our autonomous stock chaser solution that is released, you've probably seen some press releases about it. And it's one of the things that we're talking about the most with our vehicle partner, Columbia, specifically, who manufactures the stock chasers that our drive mod system goes onto and then operates autonomously. Chris is the guy who's stepping in with years of expertise in selling automated robotic solutions to enterprises. He has personally sold thousands of automated robots that are out there in the field today. And he is going to spearhead that effort where we really are doubling down on the stock chaser is released. They're orderable. We can build them at scale. We can operate them at scale, and really going into that repeatable sales process to get more and more of those placed out in the field. While in parallel, we continue on more of that strategic business development and customer development work that I mentioned, which includes looking for those next vehicles that we will be doing for customers, ranging from the electric forklift that we've shared. We have a commercial agreement to develop DriveMod for, as well as the mining announcement that we made earlier this week.
Great. Joanna asks, how does all this impact sales, earnings, and growth?
So we have not yet given detailed guidance on our revenues or sales. In other words, I would say tune into our earnings call that's scheduled in March to hear the formal update there. But the behind that is to say we have been sharing a qualitative plan since our IPO. There's a specific slide that has not changed since we built our S1 back in 2021. And that is a plan as to how we see this rolling out. So we have been executing ahead of that plan. That included getting ourselves into multiple pilot deployments through 2022 to reach that state of let's go into sales mode with the stock chaser in 2023. It also includes that we had only planned to work on one vehicle in 2022, but we did close the contract to engage into the electric forklift automation development, and as well as now this mining announcement that we made. So in all of those regards, we've not changed the goals that we set forth going back almost 18 months. We have been ahead in executing against them on a few dimensions, and we'll look out for upcoming earnings calls and official announcements in terms of how that translates into sales and revenues.
Josh Todd asks, what other applications are there for the tech, and how are you growing into the auto space?
That's a good question. The fundamental that I would boil it down to in terms of the most immediate applicability are some of the things that I mentioned earlier. We want to be operating on closed sites. We prefer to be operating at low speeds. And we prefer to be moving goods, not people, that are directly plugged into how our customer makes their money and makes their product. Because by checking those boxes, you accomplish a few things. One, you become a must-have for the customer. If you have an end customer who is an automotive parts manufacturer, they don't make money unless your vehicle can carry goods to the assembly line so that they can assemble and ship goods out the door. That's where you want to be, because we saw, especially during the COVID pandemic, if you're in a nice to have type of application, like at that same automotive parts manufacturer, moving people around their giant campus so that they don't have to walk too far for lunch, guess what? One of the first things that get cut are when times get tough, right? So those, and then being in that closed site eliminates a lot of the problems that we're unfortunately seeing now in terms of late delivery to expectations for autonomous vehicles on public roadways, which is unfortunate. It's the area that I come from, and I'm very passionate about it. But we're unfortunately seeing deadlines missed year after year. We're seeing very unfortunate situations like shuttering of perceived leaders in the space, like Argo, and some other, let's call it, corrections in that space. And I think that's largely because of the massive problem space that exists when you're out on public roads and practically anything can happen, and that your autonomous vehicle needs to be prepared to deal with that practically infinite set of problems before you can release what you could call a commercially ready product. So for us, we operate in a closed site. We're operating around the other humans that interact with the vehicle are trained. They're there making their livelihood working with the vehicles. They're incentivized to be well behaved, to go through proper training. We don't have to deal with the DMV or NHTSA. Our customer is essentially the governor of their own site. We can make things happen quickly. And so I think all of those things, when those boxes can be checked, it really means that it's a sweet spot for the fit of Cyngn's applications, and it lets us carve out the business that we want to create, that is cash flow positive, that is successful, that allows us to then, years down the road, when sensors are cheaper, computers are cheaper, a lot of those corner cases are worked out that the road autonomous vehicle companies are struggling with today. That's a perfect time for us to come in and comfortably enter into that space and expand into that open roadway, which is where we develop the technology. So it's natural for us to end up there, but we've made the strategic decision that where we develop and where we deploy the product don't necessarily have to be the exact same place.
Jordan Corman asks, how do you quickly ramp up revenues?
With Chris, no, that's the signal. It's quickly is a tricky word because we are operating in a long sales cycle B2B industrial space. That's a very different definition of quickly from consumer apps and B2C types of applications. But the Stock Chaser is commercially released. We've got a fleet of them that we're ready to deploy right away that are already built. We've got the manufacturing partnerships in place to place larger orders and get additional vehicles placed. And we also, the uniqueness of what we ultimately patented in our drive mod kit that goes onto these Stock Chasers and allows them to operate autonomously, is that the process for making an existing vehicle that's out in the field autonomous through a retrofit and producing a completely new autonomous Stock Chaser is effectively the same process and produces the same end product. So that also enables us to not be tethered to the vehicle supply chain and be able to go out to our customers who have fleets of existing Stock Chasers and get those up and running autonomously right away. So those are some of the measures that we're taking to try to shortcut the still relatively long B2B industrial sales cycle. But we're looking to do that absolutely, and starting in 2023 and definitely growing into 2024.
He also asks, can Cyngn hit 5 million in sales this year?
Again, have not given guidance on this, so I have to plead the fifth here. But look out for our upcoming earnings calls, and we're out there with a focus in 2023. Is that going into sales mode is the focus.
All right, we have a few more questions for you, but we are out of time. Do you want to have any quick closing remarks?
Probably nothing I've not already said. Look for those more formal updates coming from us in the earnings calls. I think a lot of these tidbits that I've shared today are going to be long and interesting sagas with a lot of exciting chapters to update you on coming in the future. So If it is a space that you're interested in, if you believe in AV and AI, we do think that we have an exciting approach to get to some success in this space faster. And we're building great tech with a great team. So don't hesitate to reach out. We're excited to show you what we can do.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ben. Fascinating stuff. Yes, join us again with some updates.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone, we'll be right back.